Copy and paste, Michelle, maybe one of the headlines that someone's going to steal from you in their coverage tomorrow indeed. Good afternoon. I think it is absolutely a crucial election, and that makes tonight very, very important. You saw our political editor, Ganief making the point earlier that tonight is so important in terms of political messaging ahead of the elections, and in a way, because of the results of the EFF's decision to boycott tonight, it seems the President may well have the stage to himself. Of course, there are plenty of opposition parties. Some of them are going to put in inverted commas because they're opposition parties that have been working with the ANC in the past. One of them is Jama-ah, their leader, Ganief Hendricks. Mr. Hendricks, good afternoon. Thanks very much indeed for coming in. What do you want from the President tonight?
Look, the President only has 3 months before he may be removed as President, or the ANC removed and replaced by another party. So we cannot expect too much from him. What is he going to do in just 3 months? The only thing he can do is to give us heads up on the budget that's going to take place in 2 weeks' time. And it's like you mentioned, it's on the eve of the elections. So obviously he would like to garner votes for his political party. So he may announce tax cuts.
I can't see that happening. There's no money in government as it is.
But what else can he do? Look, the President has also given us heads up that he has failed when it comes to job creation, that he hasn't created an enabling environment for jobs, and he's now come out and said, look, we tried, we failed. It is the private sector's responsibility to create jobs. I don't know if you remember some of his past SONA promises, and he said that small businesses and micro businesses will create, I don't know how many million jobs. They haven't created one job. He was going to provide resources. 3 ministers headed up the small business government department.
Development Ministry, yeah.
Yeah, and nothing has happened. So that has been a flop. So they might as well close down that department and leave it now to the private sector. So earlier on I referred you to the fact that there may be tax cuts. Also, if the President is not going to spend money on putting people in employment, he can use that as an incentive to the private sector to create the jobs. So we want to hear from him tonight that South Africa will be one of the few countries where there will be full employment with decent jobs in terms of the convention of the ILO.
So, I mean, you're very critical of the ANC, but don't you usually vote with the ANC in the National Assembly anyway?
Look, we are a trusted ally of any political party that has its roots in the liberation movement. It so happens, unfortunately, from the liberation movement, it's the ANC that's in power, and we know what the SONA Commission said about the ANC. So it's the lesser of the 2 evils. If there was another party like, say, the PAC, which we know that's a pipe dream, that was running the country, we would have supported them whenever we can, so long as they adhered to the foundational principles of the liberation movement.
You're not expecting Jacob Zuma's Umkhonto weSizwe to adhere to those principles?
Some of it, yes, they will adhere to, because it's in their blood, and they must have cognitive dissonance if they do things outside those principles. So if Jacob Zuma comes to power and some people are saying they will get a 2/3 majority, and I think Honorable Steenhuisen will freak out when he hears that, we will then obviously, because they come from the liberation movement, we will be a trusted ally.
So it's interesting, you're a trusted ally of the liberation movement, and I understand that. There's a strong moral component to what you say. But I think many people would say that the ANC has been in power for the last 5 years. They won the election in 2019, and life has got worse. So is that really the right way to be a trusted ally of people who were repressed, to side with a political party that has not made their lives better? You yourself have just been very critical of the ANC. You say they haven't created any jobs. Is there not a better way to improve the lives of people, the formerly oppressed, I mean?
There's no one else. There's no way that we can identify with these moonshot people. They will shot South Africa into the sky and there won't be a country left if they come to power. Just imagine that South Africa may have the first white president in the African continent.
It would be the second,
what message will that send?
Yes, yes.
And it will also send a message that blacks can't rule, can't govern. And we who identify and allow ourselves with the foundational principles of the liberation movement and the United States of Africa, you know, we have limited choices because we are a minority party. But you know, in spite of us just having 3 councillors in the city of Joburg, we're running it now for 1 full year. The ANC was just there for 3 weeks, the DA for 3 months, and Dr. Palazzi, and Action SA just for a month or 2. So our Jama-ah has reimagined politics, and we've shown that if you are a trusted ally, and 9 political parties trust us, that's why they came to me and told me, please lead us.
And how do you think that's worked out for the people who live in the city of Joburg?
Look, what we've done, the strategy that I agreed with the Premier is we will identify what we call accelerated programs. At the last meeting of the city of Johannesburg, it was thumbs up for all of them. The money in the line item was achieved. So it's not going to be overnight. So we feel that we have a first-class mayor, that by the end of the term, the city of Johannesburg will be a first-class city.
Okay, I live in Joburg. You know that. Many people do. It doesn't feel like that at the moment. There are potholes everywhere. Over 10% of the traffic lights in Joburg by the middle of January were not working. Now, you say there's been progress in the last year. I put it to you that many voters in Joburg are going to feel the city's gone backwards in all areas of Joburg.
I'm very surprised that you mentioned potholes. When remember we had 2 mayors.
Yeah.
When our first mayor took office, in his opening speech, he said he's going to deal with potholes.
Well, he didn't. I can tell you he didn't.
Because there was a budget for it.
Yeah.
He was starred and feathered and said, is that all he can talk about, potholes? So obviously there are priorities. And that's why we have these accelerated programs. And our mayor, when I have my weekly meetings with him, the present executive mayor, there is good progress, but certainly in areas that you drive, maybe we must show you a better road to drive, potholes have been fixed. But be that as it may, you must remember that the city of Johannesburg was an iconic city in Africa. It was messed up by the ANC, 3 successive mayors.
So you're now keeping in power?
It was messed up by the DA, even worse. And Action SA beat both parties, all 3.
They never had the mayoralty in Joburg. But anyway.
Well, Herman Masaba was the mayor.
Yes, but for the DA at the time. You say Tapelo Ahmed is doing a good job, right?
No, it's Gwamanda now.
I'm sorry, Kabelo Gwamanda, excuse me. You say Kabelo Gwamanda is doing a good job. Do you believe that he believes in all of the ideologies of your political party?
Look, he has to, you know, and we remind them, you know, this is what the party stands for. He's got a very difficult role in that there are 9 political parties. Sure. If one of them pulls out, he loses his job. So let me tell you. So he can't favor the ANC or anyone. So he comes to me, Mr. President, what's our position? And then he will tell them, you know, this is our Jama-ah's position as far as these matters are concerned. And people will say, no, we don't agree with your position. So he has a very delicate balancing role to play to satisfy our Jama, because we're only 3 out of 250 councillors.
I appreciate the realities of coalition. That's not where I'm going with this. I'm going in a slightly different direction. You, as your political party, have a particular ideology. And part of your ideology, and I hope you'll forgive me for saying this, but part of your ideology is, I think the correct word would be to say homophobic. You do not believe that gay and lesbian people should play a role in building policy around families. Tapelo Ahmed has been asked about this question, and his quote was, as far as I'm concerned, as the mayor of Joburg, understanding the social construct of the city, I have gay and lesbian friends, some of them councillors in council, and we work well together. I don't see them in a different light. I see them as human beings. Is your mayor wrong to have gay and lesbian friends?
No, he is quite right. You must remember that the issue of
Then why are you homophobic?
We're not homophobic. I think you are. I'll tell you why I say you are. I'll tell you why I say you are, if you give me a chance later on. You see, this is a matter of faith. And the quarrel we have with this whole narrative to push gays and lesbians and the alphabet, you know, there's many people in our schools...
You're going to call people the alphabet. I would suggest that you choose your words a little more carefully. I think some people will see that as quite offensive.
Is it? And then I withdraw that. I didn't know it was offensive. So what we are saying is that there must be a balance. They mustn't push their narrative. They're quite prepared, you know, they're entitled to put their position on the table, but they mustn't push their narrative. They're pushing it too hard, and they want to dominate.
You have your own narrative, and you push it. You campaign for it.
No, there's a time where you, after you've made your point, you carry on with your life. So we will not harm gays and lesbians in any way. That's why Ahmed will say that he's got good friends. And I grew up in District 6 in a place called Rydocks. 1/3 of the people were gay and lesbians. And my dad had a shop. I served them. I respected them. So we're not hostile to them, but for us it's a matter of faith. And you know, we don't want the gay and lesbian narrative to be forced down our throat. Make your point, and you are, you know, they claim they're in the majority. I didn't know the majority of South
I don't think they've ever claimed they're in the majority.
They have.
I don't think they have. You and I can arm wrestle about this some more, and maybe I have a duty to, but we are going to have to leave it there, I'm afraid. Ganief Hendricks, thank you very much indeed. Nice to see you despite that, the leader of Jama-ah. Michelle, you have a lot more in German.